The Age of Consent, an introduction to this book. I think it's a bestseller. For a copy here. What is the age of consent? Not to be confused with the age of majority, the drinking age, voting age, or age of criminal responsibility. The age of consent refers to the minimum age at which the law recognizes the legal capacity of an individual to consent to sexual activity. Men and women who have engaged in sexual activity with individuals below this age are guilty of a criminal offense, regardless of whether the sex is consensual. In the United States today, the age of consent varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and between federal and state laws. For example, the age of consent is 16 in Alabama and Maine. In Louisiana and New York, it is 17, and in California and Oregon, it's 18. First appearing in England in 1275, age of consent statutes were established to protect young maidens from being ravished by older men to ensure their chastity would remain undamaged until marriage. In 1576, an English law made it a felony to unlawfully and carnally know and abuse any woman, child under the age of 10 years. The intent was to prevent sexual assault on young girls and to make it easier to prosecute men for committing such crimes. Near the end of the 18th century, the age of consent in European nations and the United States fluctuated between 10 to 12 years and was revised in the late 1800s to between 13 and 16 years. By 1920, legislators in America increased the age as high as 18 years in some states. The inconsistency of these laws reflected social sentiment at the time, and in the United States, the laws began leaning away from the idea of protection and more toward regulation. Dating from the 1930s, as teenage girls grew more spirited and independent, American reformers sought to control adolescent sexual with the age of consent laws by claiming minors were too immature to understand that sexual intercourse outside marriage was immoral. Chapter 1, The Age of Consent, should be 18. Kelsey Watchman. While a student at Balmoral Hall in Winnipeg, Canada, Kelsey Watchman was a runner-up in the 2009 Glenson High School Ethics Essay Competition, sponsored by the University of Manitoba Center for Professional and Applied Ethics and the University Department of Philosophy for the following essay. While it is difficult to determine specific age at which young people develop the intellectual and emotional maturity necessary to make informed and responsible decisions regarding such issues as sexual activity, birth control, and childcare, society acknowledges the need to do so for the best interest of all concerned. 18 years is the minimum age for voting in elections and gambling. Consenting in sexual activity is no less significant. Setting the legal age of consent at 18 provides a realistic balance between protecting an individual's right to make a personal decision and protect an individual from harm. Chapter 1, Age of Consent.